to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Revell, and here is the conclusion of my 69 Boss 302 built from the Revell kit. It is mostly box stock. I've done a few mods to it, but really not much at all, but it's built pretty much right out of the box. It's kind of an interesting car, especially for what was going on at Ford at the time, or Mustang at the time, especially when you consider how many new models were coming out. Ford still had, the Mustang, the Fastback, and the Grande, and they still made the GT, so you can get a Mustang Fastback GT, and they introduced the Mach 1, the Boss 429, and the Boss 302, and they still were making the Shelby Mustangs, which to me kind of contradicted what this car was becoming, because this is the racer, this is the car that they wanted to go Trans Am racing in, even though that's kind of how the Shelby GT350 started. But by 69, the Shelby GT350 had a longer fiberglass front end. It was all image, and it was all Ford. Shelby really wasn't involved too much. So I think they were trying to step away from the Shelby name, and they were coming out with their own. But they needed this car to for the motor, because they wanted to race a specific motor. And Ford, I guess, got in some trouble in 68 because they were racing with a tunnel port 302 engine that was not available to the buying public. And so they needed to homologate that engine, and they needed a car to do it. And there were some power changes at Ford. Bunky was recently hired. Bunky Knudsen was recently hired, and he hired Larry Shinoda, I think is how you say that. And Larry Shinoda was an ex-racer, and he was put in charge of developing and designing this car, which is interesting. There's a story that's how this car actually got its name, by being called the Boss 302, was when Larry was asked about what he was doing, and he would say, "I am working on the boss's car." What are you working on? The boss's car. And I guess the name stuck because that's supposedly the story on what this car was, where the name came from. And they also had the Boss 429 that came out. But this is the actual race car that they wanted to race, this one, and the look and everything. So, getting back to the engine, the designers were building, and they were having some issues with the 68 tunnel port engine, but they were also developing and building the 351 Cleveland motor that was coming out. And I don't really know who, or if it was more than one person, but it was figured out that they could take the Cleveland style heads and put them on the tunnel port 302 block with only a few modifications to the cooling passages. So, and that the 302 tunnel port was a special block, special casting, and screw-in freeze plugs, and it was a racing motor. It really wasn't the same 302 that you can buy in a 68 Mustang. But by doing that, they were able to get large valves, 223 intake and 171 exhaust valves, and they went with a solid lifter cam. And this is the street engine. They also had stamped steel 1.73 ratio rockers, and on the 69s they had chrome valve covers. The 70s they did the cast valve covers. But the main thing was the motor, and for they did a few things to it too. They put a 780 CFM carb, which was ironically bigger than the carburetor they even put on the Boss 429. So it's a pretty big carburetor, and this motor could rev. So, which is funny because they rated at 290 horsepower and 290 foot-pounds of torque, and Ford put a rev limiter on it. 6150 RPM, because they were trying to keep the warranty claims down, even though they had a bunch of problems with the motors at first. So even the street cars, they had a whole bunch of them where pistons were cracking, and so finding a 69 Boss 302 with its original motor is kind of rare, and they didn't make a whole lot of them. Kind of a mid-year introduction, and it was limited in some of the options. All Boss 302s were 4-speed sticks, no automatics. Didn't quite have the torque down low. Kind of the same story with the Z28, but they were all sticks. But you did have your choice between wide ratio and close ratio 4-speed. but they were all 4-speeds. All four 9-inch rear ends. It had a couple of different gear ratios. You can get a 430, a 390, and I think the other one was a 350 ratio. But pretty neat cars. All the interiors were black. No option on that. You could get deluxe interior or standard interior, wood trim. Console was an option. So the interiors were option, and only 4 colors. You can get it in this color. This is Calypso Coral. You could also get it in bright yellow, Acapulco blue, and Wimbledon white. And another neat kind of feature. These were the base wheels that I replicated here. And so the silver centers, all silver. But you could get the Magnum 500 wheels that were chrome with the black, 5 triangles basically. They were available that way. And I think the next one I'm going to build, I'm going to do that. But it was a kind of a mid-year introduction, and because of the VIN code G, Ford ended up making 1,600 of them, 1628. And but it was a mid-year introduction, and it didn't quite take off so well, but at first. But the car raced well. It did what it was supposed to do, and it was winning a few races. Won 4 of the 12, I think, for the first year. But and then they sold a bunch more. One of the things I was kind of bummed, the 70, the Shaker is available, the Ram Air, but was not available in 69. And then I also found out, because I like the hood pins, I've seen a few with hood pins, but officially the Boss 302 didn't come with hood pins on the 69, but some were added, is what I was reading on that. But just a neat car, and I just love these cars. I really love the look of these. And as some of you may know, it's really not the first one I built. Here's the first one I built 15 years ago. Also Revell kit. If you followed my other video, it's the 69 Mach 1 kit. And then I filled in the scoops and the pillar medallion indentation, filled in a hole in the hood, and then changed the rear valance for the exhaust, and changed the exhaust. So I've done some things to this one. But they look great together, and you can see some of the differences. And I really like how Revell did the decal here, much more aggressive. This is the last detail decals, but that's what was available. And there are a few other people that came out with the decals. But and then these are a little bit bigger tires, because they came from one of the other Revell kits. But I was replicating the same thing, so I'll put that one away. But focus mostly on this one. I'm having a little trouble with the hood. It doesn't quite sit down. I think that's kind of a clear coat issue, a little too much. It did fit when it's painted, but I think it's a little too much, or something's pushing it up. And what's interesting is this hood's actually a little longer than that one. I was comparing the two just for fun, and the hood's a little longer. So they did, when they changed the front end, they did make it a little longer as well. Speaking of the front end, I really like how it came out on this one after detail painting it. So there's the front end. Let's push the hood down. I'll make sure when I build my next one that I'll get the hood down even better. Let's just here we go. So there's that front end, and put it right next to the other front end. And I really like the changes that they did to them. So the front end's a much better looking front end. The ironic part is, if you look at the emblems though, this emblem is actually more correct than that emblem, between the two emblems. But this is the old one. And then I got the underside all built up and detailed, and it's all finished. And there's the tail lights, and I used the Motolo pen on the Mustang letters across the deck lid there. Like I said, I actually forgot about putting the decal little pin stripe that goes right there. But she came out beautiful. I'm loving the way it went. I said I got a little issue with the hood, but I don't think it's the kit, because it fit before I painted it. I think it's just the clear built up a little bit on it. And then there's the engine compartment. Now I did have to take my Dremel out and clearance the air cleaner for the distributor. There was a small spot there that my distributor was hitting. I don't know if my distributor was too far back. And also I had to modify that radiator hose. It was a little too long. But everything else just dropped right in and pretty much went right together. The interior, I did change out the console, added the correct console from the Mach 1 kit, and took the roll bar out of it. Those are Shelby items, but they're in there in the kit. But I took them out. But overall, I mean, I'm loving this kit. And like I said, I bought 2 of them. I'm going to build one more. I'll eventually build the other one as the blue car, the Acapulco blue, and then I'll do the little bit more dressed up Magnum 500 wheels with the black triangles and the chrome spokes instead of the all silver that I did on both of these cars. But I just really enjoyed this one, and hope you guys enjoyed it too. And I'll end up doing another one. But you know, she looks great. You can see the back end, so you can see how the pinstripe is on the back of that one. That's how it's supposed to be. But I had forgot to do this one, and like I said, Revell didn't include that decal. And then I did fill in the C-pillars. There's a little indentation there for the Mach 1, but they've already filled in the side scoop on the side that I had to fill in on this one, which I understand Ford did for aerodynamic reasons. And then for 70 they didn't have the scoops, and I believe the scoops were non-functional, at least on the Mach 1. They may have been functional on the Shelby, but I don't think they were at the time. On the earlier Shelbys they were. But there she is. There's that girl right there. So I'll continue on. I'll move on to my next build here, and you'll be seeing more of that. Got a couple of more in process. So those of you that have subscribed and enjoy watching my videos, and please comment. I appreciate all the comments, and I reply to them and definitely read them all. But thank you for tuning in, and thank you for subscribing. You guys have a wonderful day.